So, hi. Let's bring this down. Alright. So, greetings, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome to this next installment of Botany Book Club, in which, where is it? Over here. In which we're doing chapters 5 and 6 of In Defense of Plants. So, the book. And then after this week, we just have one more left for chapters 7 and 8. So, if you want to take part in the convo for that, you have another week to get on it. And then we'll switch to another book. I don't know if we're going to have a week between them, like we did for one of the other ones, or just dive straight into it. We'll see. But we've got another week on this guy. Now, if you're coming in to this for the first time, you haven't been here for the other 2 weeks that we've been working on In Defense of Plants, or you're just not familiar with the title, the author, Matt Candeias, runs a podcast with the same name, and kind of tries to talk about plants and botanical things in a not so jargon heavy manner, so that, you know, general populace would be able to understand it, which same way that this is written. Okay, one sec. Things keep trying to fall over, and it's not cool. Alright, stay. Hello, Honeycomb. How are you doing today? Do you want to know what we're reading? I think that's The Serpent's Tail. Yeah. Now, do we want to have a break week between the books, or do we want to just jump into A Serpent's Tail? Because, you know, I'm down for either. I would pick it up, but it's like under a pile of books over here right now. But that one would be cool. But yeah, looking forward to reading that finally. Alright. So, before we dive into this week's chapters, anyone have any particular questions, comments, queries, whatnots? I don't know. Being unhelpful and leaving it up to me. Alright. We'll see what happens on that one. Yeah. August has been a pretty slow reading month as far as like actual texts. Like fan fiction, yes. Actual books, yeah, not so much. So we'll see what happens. Yeah. So, just like for last week, I've got some visuals keyed up to correspond with some of the references in here, and to have color versions of some of the black and white photos. Which, again, I appreciate the black and white. It's cool. You can see the contrast and stuff. But also, like this, you can see what it is. That's fine. That's cool. That works. This, though, where is it? That's a bit harder to see. Oddly, I can see it better in the screen right there than I can, like, with my eyeballs. Just looking at the page. Which is probably a me thing more than a thing with the book itself, so keep that in mind. Our brain's been off nonfiction lately somehow. It's too much thinking. Though complicated mysteries, Swedish mysteries are just fine. Right? It's like I want to read it, but also, right? Also, there's just times that it's like, brain is not computing this. Yeah. So, there's that. But like, I'm looking over here, and I've got the Dubliners, and it's a really small book, but knowing how kind of convoluted Joyce tends to be sometimes, or not convoluted, but a stream of consciousness. I don't know that this is a good match for right now. Like, there's I've forgotten how many like classics that I have that are really, really thin books compared to like the big chunky ones. And yeah. Yeah, it's Joyce. Which I just find kind of hilarious because, I mean, A Portrait of an Artist, or Portrait of the Artist, I can never remember what the actual title is. Portrait of the Artist is, was at the time, like, a pinnacle of awesomeness, but also Joyce. So, I don't know. Like, I want to do the reread because I don't know how much of the, like, yes, this is amazing was because I was obsessed with Irish things at the time, or because the book was actually that great. So, there we go. You were really into depressing and deceptively dense books. Much emo. I mean, okay, like, where'd you go? Okay, I don't know where he is right now. So, can you not fall everywhere? Thanks. Yeah, well, right. At one point, what was it? At one point, Call of the Wild, Portrait of the Artist, uh, Crime and Punishment, and The Stranger, wherever it is in the pile of books over here, were like top tier. So, yeah, angst and depressing and whatever else, and yeah, basically. And very rambly and stuff. Speaking of Irish, check out Migrations. Oh, yeah. I have, I think I've seen that one. Maybe. I think. Let me just do a copy and stick it over there so I remember what it is. That one I do not remember saying. Okay. Cool. Cool. Alright. So. As usual, whenever I go on stream, my nose starts itching. That's great. It was fine like 20 minutes ago. Okay. Good to know. Good to know. As long as I know that going in, we're good. So. Alright. Don't know what that move was. So. I don't know what is being foodified at the moment, but it smells interesting, I'll say that. Exactly. A preparatory book dance move. Exactly. Alright. Being that I can't find the intro pages because they're being annoying, so this week we're doing 5 and 6. So the fight for survival and eating animals and other things. So fight for survival is basically like defense strategies, and eating animals and other things is essentially like carnivorous plants, basically. And then next week we've got parasitic plants and then the problems plants face. So parasitic plants or parasitic symbiotic plant relationships and like ecological issues and things of that nature. So, yeah, alright. Interpretive book dance is the next social media sensation. I'll take your word for it on that one. Ow. Okay. Excuse me. There we go. Alright. So. Chapter 5. How would Parasite Eve be different if it was Symbiote Eve? Not sure I get the reference. To be perfectly honest. Not sure on that one. Because, like, oh, yeah, okay. Of course it is. Alright, so, being that I don't know, yeah, you said video game, and it's like, oh yes, that one. Yeah, no, because being that I don't know anything about the storyline or the gaming mechanics or anything, so we're kind of on the same page as far as, like, it's similar to Resident Evil, presumably, but I don't know. So, if it's Parasite Eve, and I realize that I'm going completely, this is probably, like, not have anything to do with the actual storyline. But, like, with a name like that, it sounds like it's a character taking something from other characters or a society or whatever, or, like, some kind of epidemic situation that is, like, taking something from the characters or whatnot with no benefit for those that it's being taken from. So if it's a symbiote or a symbiotic relationship, then instead of just, like, taking without giving anything back, it would be like a give and take sort of thing, so that all parties would benefit. Evil parasitic growth epidemic. Yeah. So, like, if it's a parasitic growth sort of thing, then if it's a symbiotic thing, if it's symbiote Eve instead of parasite Eve, then it would be like there's still a growth thing. There's still something that's taking nutrients, taking information, whatever it is, from the host, but the host is getting some kind of benefit from it. Whether it's a protective mechanism or there's some kind of, like, nutrient exchange or whatever. SimCity with helpful alien friends. Kinda, yeah. The only Sims that I've actually played is like 4, I think. whichever one it is that I have on the computer right now. We had SimCity or Sim Apartments or whatever it was, back when I was a kid, but no one ever played it, I don't think. Like, whichever iteration of Sims was out in, like, 98, where there was what looked like an apartment complex, but it was like 40, 80 stories tall, and you had to keep, like, building things. Yeah. Yeah. It's one of those that I don't know if it's like an addictive personality trait situation or if it's something else, but it's a number of years ago. I was like really into it for a couple of weeks and basically only did that for like a couple of weeks, and it got real bad, and kind of haven't opened the program since then. So yeah, the characters are still there, just kind of hanging out, doing whatever, but yeah. The character design and like scene creation aspect of it is pretty cool, but the actual playing the game with like now you have to go to work and everything else is kind of let's not. But even so, I haven't even tried to open it, which I paid for the game. It was on sale, but I paid for the game. So I want to like get the most out of it, even though it's been sitting there for like 4 years. Otherwise, like, it's just taking up space on the hard drive. But also, right, kinda don't really want to play it anymore. So, I don't know. I don't know. Got rather addicted to Pokemon Go, but it promoted exercise, so we didn't mind until we sprained our ankle because too much attention on screen instead of terrain. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I tried doing Pokemon Go with my last phone, and it kept glitching and it didn't want to work. And then, yeah. Sims we've never gotten aside from the character creation bit. Yeah. The character creation bit is kind of cool, but like, it depends, right? It depends. Like, either I'm in a headspace where it's like all the little fiddly bits is fascinating and like I just end up zoning on the character analysis and stuff, just like with really tiny art things and stuff, and like, oh yes, well, this is the profile, so you adjust the eyes just slightly, and then there's this, and then there's this other thing, and then you put this, and it's here, and most of the time it's just like I can manage about 5 minutes of that, and then it's just, look, they have a shirt, it's black, done, moving on. So But, like, you have to adjust everything in that character creation mode. You can't just go back and, like, they suddenly have different facial structure features, as far as I know. You can change the clothes, but you can't change that. Which, fair, but also. Right? It's like two modes. Either I need the magnifying glass and like a microscope and like as two different things and like heavy detail with like the tiniest brush humanly possible to utilize and just like really, really fine detailing on something that's about this big. Yes. Or the canvas is like 6 feet wide and you just don't paint on it. Sometimes there's an in between. Yeah, it's debatable though. Okay, let's try this again. Because last week I ended up muting the wrong thing when I tried to blow my nose, so yeah. Alright, one sec. And we're back. Ow. Ah. It's not a heavy book by any means. Like it's comparable to some of the other ones that I have over here. But it's still a hardback, right? So like ordinarily it'd be fine, but I slapped it down like right across the knuckles right there, and it's just like ow. Please do not assault yourself with the book. Right? Oh. Oh man. All right. Okay. Thank you for the hugs. Oh man. Ow. Ow. All right. Now. Now. So. We've had a couple of tangents. We're really. Come on. Work with me here. There we go. Okay. We've had a couple of tangents. We're working with whatever is going on. All right. Now, so, okay. Now, one of the things that I've noticed in all the books we've read, 30 minutes worth of tangents, Bristol past. Right? I mean, it's an achievement. So, yeah. One of the things that I've noticed with my own discussions about plants, in analysis, in nonfiction and fiction, is people tend to anthropomorphize everything, basically. Which makes sense because that's the lens that humans operate through. So if you're trying to make sense of the world around you, it makes sense that the default is like, this is my experience with certain things that look like X, and I'm observing that same relationship or a similar relationship or a similar appearing relationship in other species or other situations or whatever, and then extrapolating your own experience to whatever you're seeing happen. Now, the issue with that is, like, it depends on where the author's coming from, right? And at this point, it's specifically in relation to wild flora and fauna. And in particular, plants. If the book is coming, or if the text in general is coming from the perspective of a more folkloric or ethnobotanical perspective, it tends to have more instances, at least from what I've seen, it tends to have more instances of kind of anthropomorphization like that, where the plants want to help, or there's a long tradition of plant and animal or plant and human relationships, that sort of thing. And to a degree, that works. And for a lot of plants, they have evolved with humans enough that the plant provides something that the humans need or the animals need, and the human habitation or animal distribution or whatever the relationship is something that the plant needs to continue thriving in that particular environment. The issue with that is, yeah, anthropomorphism. The issue with that is if it's in a fiction work or something, then you can get away with pretty much whatever. You can have like talking animals and plants that move across the landscape because they're sentient beings, because Ents are awesome, and, yeah. But in the same vein, like, you can have banana homomorphism. Yes. You can have extensive relationships like that. But that's when it gets into the interesting world of like, I don't know, pure science versus cultural cultural impact, I guess. Because there's a lot of instances where culturally a particular tree, plant, what have you, is seen as the protector, or is revered for particular properties, so therefore people of a particular region have a really strong connection to a particular plant or a particular set of plants. So I'm kind of, it depends on how it's being used. If it's like, this is a thing that I see in human relationships, and it's similar to this thing in botanical relationships, therefore the same, like, emotion and the same, like, emphasis is in play in botanical relationships as in human relationships. Yeah. But then there's, like, millennia of ethnobotanic information and things like that I'm drawn from too, where, well, kinda sorta, but I don't know, which is interesting reading this. Would love to meet an Ent. Tolkien character we most want to meet has always been Tom. Well, wow, okay. Somehow, the synapse between my eyes and the words couldn't pronounce Bombadil for a second there. So, we're just gonna move on. But yeah, Tom Bombadil would be cool. Seriously. Serious. Well, isn't being unhappy about being host to a parasite part of the definition of parasite? Yeah. At that point, it depends on. I think at that point, it depends on the reasoning that is being attributed. If it's that the plant is not happy that it's there, or then it's, like, more emotive. If it's that the plant's nutrients is being depleted, therefore its potential future existence is threatened, then it's the more like scientific thing. But at the end of the day, they're both the same thing. It's just how it's being phrased. So again, it's like it's the word choice of it more than whatever else. But I don't know on that one. So, ow. Yeah. I don't remember if it's in chapter 5 or not, but it was probably in one of the earlier ones. But I did appreciate the note in there that it's kind of sad that for a lot of plants, unless it's like unless the plant is somehow like useful or otherwise interesting for humans, it's not seen as having its own worth, which is a thing, definitely. Yeah, I think that was the first chapter. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But in the same token, the way that people tend to get interested in something is that, like, it has some kind of property that's needed or desired or it looks cool or whatever. And plants are in that same category of things, really. So I don't know. It'd be good if plants were just seen as fascinating in their own right. But you also need to get people interested in them. And a lot of times it's like, well, there's this thing that you do, right? There's this connection that you have to this thing. Yeah. Well, you like food, right? You like food. You like what's your favorite food? Oh yes, well that's a plant. So over here, or it's part of a plant, or the thing that you want to eat came from plants, or eats plants, or there's a particular medicine or whatever. And if nothing else, it spawns interest in something. So, I don't know. It was interesting though. In 5, he's talking about how a couple of years ago there was a big I forget who actually first published it. There was a big story that trees talk to each other via mycorrhizal fungi in the forest and uh, share information so that they can better protect each other and things like that. And again, with like, depends on how you phrase it. There's a note that most of the relationships that are seen wouldn't probably exist or wouldn't exist as they are now without the relationships between fungi and plants, like the fungi and their associated trees and things that they're usually associated with. And that in order for the fungi to continue thriving, they need to make sure that the trees and other plants they're associated with are also thriving. At which point it becomes the fungi dictating the relationships of the trees versus the trees sending information via the fungi. So again, it's how you look at the same data. But it's still like there's something threatening tree X over here, and a message is relayed to help protect tree Y and Z because they're the same species, so would probably be impacted by the same way, or there's nutrient exchange because if this one dies, then these other ones die, and the fungi needs all of them to be functional still. So it's at that point it's kind of a debate or differing modes of analysis or something. Yeah, is it a particle or a wave or both? Like basically. So yeah. At which point, it's one of those that's like how much is the observer like I mean everything gets filtered through human perspective because that's our innate outlook on everything generally. But how much is the observed data being filtered through human perspective versus whatever is actually happening? And trying to get the end analysis to as close to whatever is officially is most accurately occurring as possible. So yeah. Okay. Now there's a few, well, several, but there's a few species that, in order to protect themselves, operate with, what was it, allelopathy? I can never remember the pronunciation. Where is it? Come on. Allelopathy or allelopathy? Yeah. That's essentially sending out toxic chemicals to discourage, shall we say, the growth of other plant material in the vicinity. And I know black walnut does that. And I want to say pine does too, to a degree. I can't remember what the toxin is, but I know that's one of the reasons that it's kind of rare to see anything growing directly under a pine tree, because as their needles fall and decompose, the soil becomes inhospitable to something that's not a pine. So, yeah. The examples that it is giving in this section, though, are the sandhill rosemary. Okay. Come on. There we go. So the sandhill rosemary, Ceratiola, Ericoides. Ericoides. And the blackberry. So for this guy, that's the image that we see right there. And just real quick, going back to the big screen. So again, this is the image that we have in the text. And come on. And that's the color. So they tend to live in pretty fire-prone areas, but are very not fireproof, even though basically everything around them is. Or not fireproof, but like they're what's the phrasing? Fire adapted. There we go. They are very not fire adapted. But most of the things that grow around them are, especially grasses. And they actually, like most of the grasses that grow around them, release oils when fire hits that actually makes the blaze hotter, which in turn really kills off the plant. Like, even more than it would have before. So, it releases compounds that kill off anything within a couple of feet of the plant itself, and as the roots go out, that circle of protection, I suppose, kind of extends as far as the roots go. The expectation that if there's no underbrush that would catch fire, then in the event of a fire, the plants might be okay, or at least less impacted than they would be otherwise. And then we've got the blackberry, which... What's this one? No. Okay. This is the next one, but we're not there yet. Okay, come on. There we go. Alright. So the next one is the blackberry. Which I had forgotten. It brings up heavy metals, but like, it does. I haven't looked at it. But I know, well, brambles in general are kind of spiky, so that's one defense mechanism. But blackberries specifically also bring up manganese from like lower soil levels to try and dissuade predation. So manganese in general is pretty toxic for plants. It doesn't bug the blackberry at all, so it pulls it up and subsequently kills off most of what's around the blackberry shrubs. But it also gets absorbed into the plant, so if something tries to eat the leaves, then it's a no on that one. So could you plant blackberries in a patch of arsenic and end up with poison berries? That one, I don't know. It would depend. Like, honestly, I don't know the properties of arsenic well enough to make a determination on that one. That would require some research. Like, I just wondering. Like, that, it just reminds me of, like, I forget which fandom it was from, but it was a meme that's like, the best way to, or like the best way to be a the best way to kill people and not get caught. Be a writer. Like, okay. And the number of posts I've seen where it's like, I write mysteries. I really hope no one's watching my search history right now. Alright, fair. Like, I look up plant poisons for fun, so, yeah, basically. There is kind of a, just, for a wordplay thing, like, the idea of blackberries being heavy metal, though. You know. Okay, so, oh yeah. So, it's always interesting when stinging nettles come up and stuff. Like, police have looked askance at our shelf of writing reference books. Can't imagine why. Alright. So, for stinging nettles, right? The tiny hairs that grow off of them are trichomes, and once they've impacted something, they kind of break and essentially become hypodermic needles. I had forgotten what the cocktail was, though. Chemical analyses have revealed that the fluid in the trichomes consists of a complex mixture of histamines, acetylcholine, serotonin, and formic acid. Which would make sense as to why it stings and is real itchy and everything. Not entirely familiar with acetylcholine, but serotonin might help with, like, the pain relief. Or at least certain aspects, maybe? I don't know. You know. Also, the note that heavily damaged plants will regrow leaves and stems with higher densities of stinging hairs than those plants that have experienced lower rates of predation, which makes sense. Because, you know, if you're gonna be a plant, you might as well try and not get eaten, because it's not like you can run and hide anywhere. But, like, if you can get away with not, you know, doing whatever, that's fine too. But if you gotta, you gotta. Alright. One part vermouth, twist of lemon. Okay. Okay. Let's. Yeah. Wait. Come on. Okay. So the next one we've got is the Diaphanbakia, or the Dumcane, and there's the Pothos and the Monstera. So they're all pretty common houseplants. But alright. Just as a thing, if you have small humans in your house who tend to, try and eat things, or animals that like to gnaw on whatever's around them, there's a reason we don't have houseplants. Alright, I'm just saying. Like, we had a violet, and then the cat ate it. We've had, like, prayer plants, and the cat ate it. And one of the other cats tried to sit in it. Like, it's a whole thing. Uh, again, reason we don't have houseplants. As cool as they are. But Dumcane, which is the one, where is it? The one over here. Pothos and Monstera are all pretty toxic. Not like toxic, but what was it? If you take a bite out of any one of them, it won't be long before your mouth and throat start to burn. Eat enough of it, and your symptoms may also include intense numbing, oral irritation, excessive drooling, localized swelling, and possibly even kidney and liver failure. Please don't actually do this. So, if you have plants, and you have critters that can get to the plants, whether they be human or otherwise, take precautions, is what I'm saying here. Because it's the activation of an anti-herbivory defense. And in this particular instance, it's rapide crystals that are shaped like tiny needles, and as the plant is getting munched on, there's like irritation happening, and then the crystals are being introduced to the irritated tissue, and it's a whole thing. You don't want that. You don't want that. From Wikipedia, acetylcholine is the primary neurotransmitter of the parasympathetic nervous system. That's the rest and digestive system. That makes sense. That makes sense. But yeah. So, yeah, no, the pineapples, don't count as houseplants. No. I am working on a pineapple video though, because I have enough footage. So there's that. I always thought it appropriate that Borage and Borgia Sounds similar. Borgia? Okay. Either my brain's not working right now or I don't get the reference for Borgia. Alright. Okay. I can never remember what the actual spelling for Borgia is. Yeah. It, yeah. Yeah, Lucretia Borgia was a character. Okay, now I'm curious. 1 second. And yes, my default, like, this is a search bar, is just plant. Most of the time it's cat, but because we're doing botany things, it's plant. So, that's not how you spell anything. You know, why though? Because, come on. Because I get what you're saying. They sound similar. Has borage been associated with, like, killing things, though? Because I know anytime that I've run across borage, when I refer to future borage plants, we encounter Lucretia. Just like a blanket name. It works. It works. If you'd ever had to pull borage weeds by hand, you would understand the association. Okay. Alright. With the spiky and the pain and the ouchie, yeah. Okay. Fair. Fair. Anytime that I've interacted with borage, it's been because it was intentionally planted there. So, yeah. It was either intentionally planted or it was wild growing, and it was just kind of there chilling. So, but if you're trying to pull it because it's not meant to be there, yeah, no, I get that. Yeah. Understandable. Yes. Pain and irritation and all of the things. I get you. Like, totally. Totally get that. Uh, okay. So, come on. Alright. Okay, next on the docket we've got Datura, which is it? It depends on the growing conditions, and from what I remember, the age of the plant, or at least the age of the leaves, as to how how Datura would affect you. But it's also one that like he's talking about. Oh yes, I like growing Datura, but it's also, you know, a really tricky one. Which, yeah, if you eat it, you're gonna have a real bad time. Generally, it's it depends on the group of people, but it's sometimes used in, I don't remember if it's vision quests or another ceremony, but there's a vision type ceremony that Datura and similar plants are generally associated with. But also, if you find yourself near a patch of Datura, and you end up like brushing up against some of the plant material, just, you know, with your bare arm or whatever, it's gonna have a, like, it depends on the individual, obviously, but a lot of times you end up with kind of a contact dermatitis response, and at least minor, like, hallucinations. It depends, but there we go. Boards or deceivers. They look so soft, you want to pet them, and they have pretty purple flowers, and bees love them, but they are dastardly. Yes, they are spiky friends. That they're very cool, and I like them, and they're awesome. As long as they're like, they're very much a don't touch me and we're fine. Don't touch me and we're friends. Yes. Ah, yes, the moment this plant was mentioned in the mystery, we knew most of the plot. Yeah, once Datura comes in, it's like, so, hi, how have you been? Someone's gonna die, probably. Okay, here we go. Noticed Angel's trumpet at a Caltrain station today and explained to an assistant how poisonous it is before, and therefore a poor choice. Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah. Especially because it tends to be a words. What are words? Uh, like a low profile vine sort of situation, ground hugging sort of thing. Yeah. I think the only times that I've seen it, like, in the wild, uh, were in Death Valley, because there was a patch behind Scotty's castle that was just there. We were just told to, like, avoid it because it was just there doing its thing. Nah. And I think there was a patch that cropped up on one of the back lots at the Arboretum by the roses. Yeah. Yeah, it looks very cool. It's fabulous. But yeah, it took a bit to realize that thornapple, jimsonweed, moonflower, and datura are all the same thing. But yeah. So yeah, like a lot of Solanaceae plants, this guy is like, you don't want to eat it. As a general, you don't want to eat it. Alright? There's certain alkaloids and stuff that tend to be tend to be used in particular like religious or medicinal situations, but like in general, don't eat. Alright, just leave it there, let it be, let it do its thing, it'll be fine. And again, like, datura is fascinating in and of itself. But it tends to only be thought of as like a useful thing or a thing that needs to be taken out of a particular place if it's in relation to humans and stuff. And then we've got the fruit over here. So, like, that's why it's called a thorn apple, because at one point everything was an apple. And it has thorns on it, so. Super creative with the naming there. I don't know what's going on out there, but it sounds like someone's trying to water the side of the house, so. Probably what's going on. I don't know. Anyway. Realized Claire Outlander had given someone datura to smoke as an asthma cure. Yeah, that was a thing at one point. Being that Claire was from, the 1900s, I'm kind of surprised that she went with the datura instead of something else, but okay. But that was a thing at some point. I don't know. Oh yeah, also, with the, like, plants that do things and whatnot, we've got compounds like methyl jasmonate that is generally released when a plant is injured, but it also sometimes, like, if there's too many predators, too many like caterpillars and whatnot trying to eat the plant, then and sometimes I guess it's released to defend against that because it makes the caterpillars attack each other instead of the plant, which, okay, that's a choice. Interesting. At the time, she was in the Highland Wilderness circumventing Prince Charlie, so perhaps it was the best option. They say with much doubt. Yeah, like, oh no, with that. Like, I know there's times, right? There's times that you have a very limited, like, number of things that you can do, that you have access to. But I would think, just as a general thing, right? I would think that there'd be a number of things that one could do in whatever century it is. Oh, jeez. It's not Regency, it's before that. 1500s? When was... 16? I want to say it was 15 or 1600s. But, like, I would think that there's, more options than A, smoking something, and B, smoking Datura, if nothing else. As an asthma thing, at the time, maybe, just as a general. Of course, like, I realize that my experience with asthma might be slightly skewed. Because, like, there's times that you need to inhale something in order to be able to continue existing. Right? And I've had an inhaler since I don't even know when. I think it was like 8. But before that, it was like a liquid that had the same medicinal bits that I'm drawing a blank on right now. But from that, like, if you have a really bad asthma attack, then you can, like, drink something that has the same properties, and it helps generally. So, I don't know. It also depends on what is causing the asthma situation. Because if it's like there's something stuck in there that you need to get out, like doing the whole head over a pot of hot water with the towel situation might help, but past that it'd be like anti-inflammatories and stuff. At which point, I know smoking rosemary is a thing, but it's whatever makes the caterpillars turn on each other specific to caterpillars, or could one make an enemy army turn on each other if one spiked their food with enough of the compound? Well, so I don't want to, like, rain on your parade here, but I'm pretty sure it's just down to the caterpillars and whatnot. In the Outlander situation, it was hay fever and the dude was uncomfortable, but definitely not in extremis. Yeah, like, it's not a cure, but I have seen people use it to deal with particular symptoms. But again, it depends on the person, because there's some people that it makes it worse. Just like, for some people, because I have such a visceral reaction to it, like, I don't see how it's at all possible. But for some people, the best thing for asthma or any kind of upper respiratory issue is eucalyptus. Which is why it's in every freaking cough drop aside from, like, original Ricola. And, like, menthol anything. Like, even if I have, like, a mint chocolate thing that has more mint than I was expecting, it triggers stuff. Like, a menthol anything is, like, respiratory distress. In a can, basically. Right? Right? Like, you... Eucalyptus is for koalas, man. Not for humans. At least this human. Yes, yes. See, I read that in the voice of the annoyed sharks in Finding Nemo, with the, fish are friends, not food. Eucalyptus is for koalas, not humans. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so, like, honestly, the number of times, right, it got to a point where, like, I knew that I could have the Ricola drops, And that was about it. But it got to a point, especially when I was in the UK, that, like, I needed some kind of cough drop and ended up getting, like, I don't know, 4 different bags in the span of a couple of days. Because I got one and tried it and then realized that it had menthol as, like, the second ingredient and, like, died. So, like, I, I just ended up, like, there was a free-for-all snack section thing in one of the offices, so I just ended up leaving, like, a whole bucket of cough drops in there at one point. Cause, like, I can't eat these. I can't return these. These, no. And, like, this one didn't even say what was in there. That's fun. And then this one, like, I tried it. I thought the honey and everything else would counterbalance it, but nope, nope. Yeah, fun times with that. Yeah. Uh, Opening tangent record check. Break free with after check. Secret goal achieved. I aim to be of assistance, yes. You are quite welcome. Oh, yes. Is this the next one? Oh, right. Okay, so there's a mention in here of a plant or a tree endemic to the island of New Caledonia called the Picanandra acumanta, where the sap contains so much nickel that it's the same blue-green color as the Statue of Liberty. So, like, that's the sap right there. To the point that one study found that its blue-green sap contains upwards of 25% nickel. Okay. That's a lot. That's a lot. Okay, and then we've got the ant plant, or air plants, or however you want to call them, where there are certain plants that, because they have such a relationship with insects, specifically ants, there's a bulb at the base that's designed to be an anthill, essentially. It's a little house for the ants, so that the ants can okay. I'll just go back here. So that the ants can be protected on site, and if anything disrupts the plant, then they, swarm the invader. Wait a mine for nickel. Right. And then there's certain, like, mites that are beneficial and kind of have the same relationship to the ants. Oh, yeah. Now, this is something that I need to look up. I would say later, but like I have the thing open now, so there we go. Late Cretaceous night homes. One sec. Let's see. Because the note here was recently mite homes were identified in the fossilized remains of leaves dating back to the late Cretaceous, some 75 million years ago. Yeah. Here we go. Late Cretaceous Domatia reveal the antiquity of plant mutualisms and flowering plants. No. Yeah. Which is it? Does it have the whole thing? It does. Ooh. Well, that's cool. Alright. We might have to go through that later. Alright. Come on. Nope. No. There we go. Welcome! Welcome. I did not hear the alerts. In this screen, they should have gone off though. So, welcome, and that's the wrong screen. There we go. Hello, how's you doing? How are you and your lovely people? I hope you're having a great day. What were you doing? What's going on? Hi. Haven't seen you in a bit. We're currently working on the book stuff. How's you doing? Ow. We're doing some nerdy plant things and things of that things of that nature. Ended a game of Age of Empires, figured I'd drop everyone in for a science lesson. Well, it's appreciated. It's appreciated. A lot, yes. Yeah. Age of Empires, it depends on the mood of the brain as to whether or not I can get into it or not, but it's a fun time anyway. So, thank you for coming in. Welcome. If you're not familiar with me and what I do, my name's Rin, and I do plant things and art things and book content on various platforms. Yeah, it's a fun time generally. Yeah, it is very strategic to do Age of Empires. Yeah, I can't say as I've ever played it long enough to get an ending. But yeah. Anyway, welcome in, friends. We do we do, where is it? There we go. We do Botany Book Club, as you can see up there, on Mondays, and we do random whatevers, whether it's science things or art things or gaming or whatnot on Thursdays. It's generally a pretty good time. So yeah. There you go. But yeah, haven't seen you on for a bit. Welcome in. Welcome in, friends. Alright. Ow! Okay. So, now that we're here. Come on. Currently learning about plant survival strategies. Plants are savage, yo. Yeah. Yeah. We have currently gone through the section in which they poison everything around them so that they're the only thing left because, you know, reasons. Them having very spiky appendages like brambles do. And now we're working on reciprocal relationships between plants and various insects, namely mites and ants. Plants are savage. Yeah, exactly. Plants are savage, yo. Yeah. Seriously, like that one, that needs to be a quote right there. Just saying. But I can't remember how to do the quotes. I can't remember what the command is right now. Yeah. Yeah. I only know how to do them on the dashboard. Fair. But yeah, the statement, it's kind of a shame that plants only get credit for their various survival mechanisms when we have discovered a use for them. Yeah. Plants did not evolve in response to our needs, they evolved in response to the myriad of pressures they face each day. Moreover, plants have not done this on their own. They have evolved an amazing variety of mutualistic relationships with other organisms, and each year we just uncover more examples. Yes! Alright. Awesome. Good job. Good job. Alright. So, that's the end of the what's the title? The Fight for Survival chapter. Now it's eating animals and other things. Which is it? Did they stretch it, or is it just... No? Okay. Yeah. Which, if you're not familiar, for all the new folks coming in, if you're not familiar with the book, this we're gonna be working on the last section of In Defense of Plants next week for Monday. But if you're not familiar with the title or the author, he runs a podcast that I think at this point it's got like 300 episodes or something, with the same name, and it's pretty cool because he interviews a bunch of ecology and general plant type people about various topics, and they're all pretty accessible to folks regardless of your level of scientific know-how and whatnot. Gonna AFK for a bit. Need to make a store run before incoming lightning storm. Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. Stay safe. I will talk to you later. See you, friends. How you doing? But yeah. Alright. So, now we enter into the carnivorous plant chapter. Once again, I don't know what that was, but like it happened. All right, there we go. So anyway, scientists have done experiments trying to figure out why certain plants are carnivorous and others aren't. Have a great night in case I don't make it back before you finish. You too. Have a fabulous night if we have concluded the proceedings prior to your return to stream. Yes. Yeah. So, so there's a kind of a hypothesis that there's particular pigments that carnivorous plants use to draw in prey. It's kind of been substantiated because in instances where the pigments were masked in some way, there were a lot less flies and whatnot that were eaten or that were caught. So, something to be aware of. Also, in the instance of carnivorous plants, it's been noted that it seems like certain genes have kind of been retooled, if you will, to redirect something that they were already doing. In the case of the Venus flytraps and, well, most, if not all, carnivorous plants, was it because they were charting what particular genes did at certain times. Because they wanted to see why certain plants are carnivorous and certain other ones aren't. So what was it? When a gene is activated, it produces a chemical signal that can be easily traced. In doing so, scientists get a clearer picture of what is going on at a molecular level when an organism responds to its environment. To find out which genes were activated, they fed the plant, and then discovered that when the Venus flytrap was eating something, when it was trying to digest and whatnot, the same genes activated as would activate in a non-carnivorous plant if the plant was trying to fight off fungi. Yeah. So for non-carnivorous plants, chitinase is usually produced in a response to a fungal infection. It just so happens that the polymer that makes up the cell membranes of fungi is chitin, the same polymer that makes up the exoskeleton of insects. Chitinase is an enzyme that specifically targets and breaks down molecules of chitin. So that Squishable has a Seymour plushie now. What? Would be very cool if he glowed in the dark in appropriate areas. Yeah. Aww. Seymour. Okay. Come on. Where are we going? That's... Let me switch between screens, dang it. Okay, there we go. There we go. So, it's not mentioned in here, but I know a couple of months ago we did kind of a dive into fly traps and the okay, there we go. And the base here, the base of the leaves, because it's not a flower, it's not, anything like that, but the fly trap itself is a highly modified set of leaves that snaps together. And because, it takes the plant a lot of energy to continuously open and close the hinge, it's got a series of hairs on the inside of the leaf structure. So it's more able to stay open if there's some water drops that fall and stuff, because they're a tropical or a rainforest generally sort of plant. They like the sort of humid environment, but I think it's either that there's 3 hairs that have to be triggered before it closes, or there's 2 that get triggered before it closes, and then if there's another one that gets triggered because there's something in there trying to move out or move around, then that's when the enzymes start releasing. But yeah. They can count to 3. Yes, indeed. They can count to 3. So what's next in here? Then we've got the Broccanina, which I'm pretty sure I've seen. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen these, or at least something like these before. Yeah. I just don't remember where exactly. But like in gardens and stuff. And in this particular example, like the okay. So for these, like it's a pitfall trap. So there's a center point in here that is hollow that is kind of a reservoir, and if something falls in there, then it's gonna get digested. So it would be a variant of a pitcher plant. Also, one hair must be triggered 3 times. Won't remember. Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. Because I mean, they're most of the time it's like flies and they're moving all over the place. So this is the illustration. This is the photo that we've got for the fly traps. And then we've got the purple pitcher plant right here. There we go. And the white ringed pitcher plant, which we'll get to in a little bit. Oh yeah. So, interesting points. Venus fly traps in black and white look like pasta shells or anyone else. I mean, I was gonna say macarons, but yeah, that's what I'm seeing. Some kind of food thing. Now, is that an indicator that I need food, or that they just look like food at this point? I don't know. But I can see pasta shells though. I can. Oh yeah. Interesting fun fact about pitcher plants for today. Brought to you by In Defense of Plants. The older the plants get, the less digestive enzymes they produce. As the plants mature and their pitchers become less hostile to life, a whole host of organisms find their way into the water within, and over time a small but complex community develops. This community is referred to as an inquiline community. Inquilines are animals that live in or around the dwelling of another organism. These relationships can either be parasitic or mutualistic, and both types of inquilines can be found within the pitchers of the purple pitcher plant. Bacteria and algae are the most abundant. but their presence allows for the survival of larger organisms farther up the food chain. Filter feeding rotifers and midge larvae soon find their way into the pitchers and begin feeding on the microorganisms within. Within older pitchers, one can find the most specialized inquiline in the pitcher plant community, the larvae of the pitcher plant mosquito. This mosquito breeds only within the water of the purple pitcher plant. And apparently, they don't feed on humans or animals or anything. They just feed on nectar and pollinate other bog-dwelling plants and just do their thing, which is cool. Yeah. So we've got the purple pitcher over here. So you've got the flower, and you've got the pitcher itself. And it looks like this one here, I don't know if the mouse is actually tracking or not, but it looks like this one had larvae in it, and then the larvae has since burrowed out the side, because there's a hole back here, there's a hole, like a couple of holes over here. So this one, well, yeah, it's still got some water, but like here it's kind of up to the top almost, or like up to here, and over here it's been significantly drained out. But there's still stuff in there, so it can still have feeds and whatnot. And then there's some more images of the pitcher. And that's the mosquito. Now, back, come on. Alright, there we go. Which basically, the point of that whole thing is that as there's more insect activity and whatnot in the water, the digestive enzymes start decreasing because there's insects and algae and stuff that are decomposing, so it doesn't need the enzymes to decompose things because there's critters that are eating other critters. So the things that are left over and excrement and whatnot is there, and it's already been digested, so they can just absorb it. Oh man. Alright. Oh yeah. Okay, so now we've got Niphothenes album marginata. yeah. Latin, yay. Where this one, this dude over here, this guy, only eats or only digests, however you want to say it, but only has any kind of relationship with termites. Now, there's no info in here about how long this part of the plant actually lasts for. Just that the white ring around the edge here is only there for a day. It's there for a day as a lure for termites. So there's a lot of them that come up and get a snack and go back to the mound. That's fine. But there's a lot of them that crawl up the side and fall in and die. So the plant gets food. Alright. But it's got kind of a... Did they say what it was? A dense coat of trichomes. So that's what the white ring is around here. And then we've got right. So there's a note in here that if the oddly specific white-ringed pitcher plant was, oddly specific, then it doesn't kind of hold a candle to the poop-eating pitcher plants of Borneo. At which point, okay, I looked up poop-eating pitcher plant and got a whole lot of interesting responses. So, for the particular one that's referenced, it's this guy. The Lowe's pitcher plant, Nepenthes Louis, that, quote, not only does this plant eat poop, its pitchers literally look like gaudy toilets dangling from the tips of its leaves. Which, yeah. Like this bit up here, the white on the top, is like a, from the descriptions and stuff, it's kind of a white, a paste sort of substance that's kind of sweet that draws, what is it? Shrews. There we go. It draws shrews to it. So they're sitting there having a munch on all this, and because you have to sit on the pitcher itself in order to eat things, because, otherwise you can't eat it. The shrew's back end is situated right above the opening to the pitcher, at which point poo is deposited. There we go. And because it's already digested, they're able to absorb it easier. Case point, right there with the little shrew guy. There we go. Ah! Dang it. Alright, alright. Okay, what are equal lines again? Was distracted by mental image of horse. Check. Okay. Sorry, people. All right. Let's go back and yeah. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So we've got this over here. That is an example of an example of a pitcher plant. But it's like, what was the thing? Well, not a pitcher plant per se, but why is it not letting me shift between things? Alright. But yeah. All the links are going to be in the Discord. Sorry about that. So, we've got this. And then we've got the purple pitcher plants here. Again, don't know if this was shown or not, but we've got this one that's pretty full. You can see the water reflection here, and opposed to the water here that's been considerably drained from the repeated, burrowing out of the thing. And then there's this, that's another image. The pitcher plant mosquito there. And then this is the one that only eats termites. It's got a white ring around the edge here that is just chock full of trichomes, and apparently that's what the termites like to eat. So some of them get a snack, some of them get eaten. It depends. And then there's like this whole giant list of things that you find when you look up poop eating pitcher plant, because didn't realize that was a thing. And then we've got this guy that you have the white sort of paste type excretion from the plant that acts as a lure to get shrews to sit on it. And because of how it's situated, the critter's back end is like right over the opening to the thing. So when they're sitting on it, having a snack, they can just do their business in there, and the plant gets sustenance too, which is cool. Alright. So, Okay, so yeah, uh, and just like the bats mentioned in the um last round, um, bats tend to gravitate towards a particular shape of flower or shape of leaf or what have you, because it acts as a parabolic dish or um, a reflector point, I guess, for echolocation. And as long as the whatever the sail is that is reflecting the sound is the same shape that they're used to seeing, then they're gonna visit that particular one. But if it's damaged in some way, then they probably aren't. But yeah, there's what was it? There's one in Borneo that's called Nepenthes hemselania, where closer to the floor, the pitcher plant tends to look pretty similar to the usual. They eat bugs, that sort of thing. But it's a vine, just like a lot of them are. And that particular one tends to kind of climb up into the canopy, and the farther it goes into the canopy, the less it kind of resembles the ones down on the ground. The less digestive enzymes they have, the form shifts a little bit, because at that point, it provides a little roost spot for bats, and they don't need to digest insects. They can just absorb the nutrients from bat poo, which is cool. Yeah. And then we've got, okay, so this is the image of the sundew in here. So we've got that. And then and this is probably the closest. Yeah. Which for that particular one, something lands and then the arms kind of curl up, like, let's see here. I believe that's a fly. Might be wrong. but it's one of those that the more that they kind of struggle to get out, the more that the little feelers kind of contract. Okay. Wonder how stinky disposal system the poop-eating pitcher plants are. Yeah, that would be an interesting one. And then we've got butterworts. That for the image in here, it's probably something like that. Which, oh, come on. Just like the sundews, the surface is pretty sticky, but it's not like that sticky. And then we've got the butterworts there. Oh yeah, and also there's, for butterwort specifically, and I'm not sure past that because that's the only one that's mentioned in here. But because butterworts are often seen in areas that are generally dominated by wind pollinated plants, so there's a lot of pollen around. It falls on the surface of pretty much everything, including the butterworts, and they're able to digest the pollen in addition to insects, which is good because pollen has a lot of nutritional components and stuff. So yeah, they're able to digest certain bits of plant material, and there's some like come on. This guy. There's some like Nepenthes ampullaria that relies on leaf litter from the canopy to fall into its pitcher, and it doesn't digest insects, but there's microorganisms and tiny land crabs and tiny frogs and things that live in there, and they help break down the leaf material that fell from the canopy into the pitcher, and then the plant is able to absorb it. So, yeah. And so that's the color image. And then this is the in black and white. Right there. And then we've got the parrot pitcher plant, where, unlike pretty much all the rest of them, the pitchers are just kind of laying flat, which works because they tend to live in flood areas. So instead of things like falling out of the pitcher as they're trying to eat them, it kind of operates like a lobster trap, just like horizontal. So something tries to come in, but there's like a narrower exit point than entry point, and just like back facing hairs and stuff, so they can't leave. Yeah. Which, do I have one of these pulled up? Yeah. So that is the color photo. And and again, it's come on. So that's the color photo right there. Right? And that is the black and white. Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's pretty cool. And that's the last of the images in here, but there's one more. So we've got the Ginslea, or the carnivorous corkscrew plants. So they don't have roots, but they have like modified leaves that kind of, they look like corkscrews, and they just kind of go down into the soil, and from above they focus. There we go. They don't look all that intimidating, but there's like a channel sort of thing in the modified leaves that are below ground that kind of brings protozoans and small worms and things up through the structure, because again it has like the back facing hairs, so it, like anything that's gone up there can't leave. And is this, yeah, so they go upwards up through the modified leaves to the base of the plant, and then there's this like chamber that doesn't have any dissolved oxygen, or has almost no dissolved oxygen in it. And because they're there and they can't leave, they eventually suffocate and die, and then the plant is able to digest them and absorb the nutrients. Which, okay. There we go. Yeah. Yeah, part of the bladderwort family. Which I hadn't heard of corkscrew plants, but I have heard of bladderwort. So, yeah. Okay, we can do that in a bit. Alright, one sec. Okay. And then the last bit is that if you're going to get seeds or plants or something, make sure that you're getting them from ethical vendors, because just like with orchids, carnivorous plants are one of those categories that tends to be poached relatively frequently. And you don't want to promote the trade of poached plants, poached organisms. You don't want to support that in any capacity. So, if possible, I mean, if it's not possible to not do that, then just don't get the plants. But there you go. But yeah, just make sure that you're sourcing your plant specimens properly. So that is where we're gonna leave off in here for today. There you go. Any questions about the book itself we can get to? And then next week's going to be the rest of it. And I do see 2 Cockney requests. If I can remember where I put the book. What letter do you want the word to start with? And in Cockney or regular English? It was right here. One sec. Alright, yeah, no, I'm still here. I'm just trying to find where I put the thing. Is that? There you are. Okay. Yeah, no, that's what I figured. Yeah. I didn't, like, I noticed the first one, but I didn't notice the second name until just now. So, yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Thank you for operating the banhammer. Like, why is it always the Cockney, though? Whenever people are coming in to just be trolly a-holes, it's always the Cockney that they go for. I don't get it. Like, there's like 4 other ones that have the same or less points. I don't know. Anyway. So. Okay. There we go. Hmm. Why am I not surprised? Like, it's a language, people. Come on. Like, there's a difference between I'm 12 and, like, really? Really? Come on. Thank you for the hugs. So, there we go. Yeah. Alright. So, next week, we've got parasitic plants and then, like, issues plants are dealing with. Problems plants face. There we go. And wait. What's that? Yeah. I think the viewers who are still with us are legit if you wish to raid. Yeah, no, that works. Okay. And each... One second. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Chapter 1 is kind of like the author's story, so that... Okay. I was trying to figure out why the bibliography started on chapter 2 instead of chapter 1, but that would make sense, because chapter 1 was more like personal info stuff. So, alright, here we go. Where should we go visit, though? With the raid. If I can actually find... There's the screen. Okay, here we go. So, alright. Thank you very much, everybody, for hanging out and being awesome and doing the science things and whatnots. Now it's a matter of trying to figure where to go. Mega's doing macabre quilting. White making traditional Japanese toys. Oh. Now that. That's a toss-up. I don't know. What do we think, guys? Any suggestions? Any requests? Hmm. Let's see. All right. Do you want an extra chill vibe or a more lively vibe? That I honestly don't know. Like uh, I'm not gonna be on for too long. I gotta go eat something. But I don't know. What note to the masses? What would you like to see? I don't know. Excuse me. I'm trying to load things, and it's not really want to work. Okay, one sec. Gotta switch over to the headset. Un momento. That's the wrong screen. Okay. So, I'm checking out the peeps that you've got doing the thing at the moment. I don't know. Well, we're waiting for whatever. Yeah. So, a figure, kind of a kind of a chill vibe would probably be good. Of course, we've been relatively chill today, so maybe like more lively would be better. I don't know. Okay, one sec. Okay, desktop audio's off. So let's. Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Let's go visit Meg. Turn on and it's like, all right, you seem pretty cool. All right. So, thank you everybody for hanging out and being awesome and just generally being fabulous. Um, we'll see you back here on Thursday. Alright. Yeah. But like we've also rated Zane like basically every time for the last like 3 weeks. Alright. Okay. Come on. But yeah, Zane is super awesome. So like if you're not familiar with Night Bean art, they're fab, and I'll probably be popping over there after the raid just to say hi anyway. So yeah. Because they're great. Come on. Let me copy, dang it. There we go. Alright. Have a good one, guys. Have a fabulous rest of your day, night, whatever time it happens to be, and I will see you all later. Bye now. And thanks for the shout out for Zane. Alright. And remember, last section of Indefensive Plants on next Monday. And Thursday things with arts and plants and whatever else happens. Alright. Alright. Until next time. We'll see you later. Not friends.